Hi everyone, this week I've worked on a few different new features of the game, including cheat codes, which I'll get to later in the video. If there are any cheats you'd like to see in the game, let me know in the comments or on the Discord. I've left a link to that in the description. Anyway, I started by making the prices of each patch of land vary based on what's in them. For example, patches with lots of trees in them will be worth more than those without many. Also, patches with higher value trees in them will also be worth more than those with lower value trees. Here you can see that in action. Next, I decided I wanted some kind of feedback when the player spends money in the game to make it a bit more satisfying. I'll be adding sound effects in the future, but for now I decided to make the money float out of the player's bank. It's essentially just an animated text field. At first that didn't quite work, because it's been a while since I've used Unity's animation system. I didn't realise that the animation was looping rather than exiting when finished, so each time the player bought anything, this bouncing text field got more and more irritating. Anyway, I fixed that by removing the exit transition and got that working nicely, as you can see here. While playtesting the game, I've found that it's quite boring to watch the lumberjacks simply walking around and automatically chopping down any trees they come across. The player has very little control, and it feels a bit like you're just watching the hard work being done for you. In order to fix this, I first had to make each employee selectable. This is a bit more complex than the way items are normally selected in the game, as employees move around and aren't set to a particular coordinate in the world. So in order to make them selectable, I had to add colliders, which receive rays from the player's mouse when clicked. I quickly made a little test control panel, salvaged from other control panels I've made, and found that the raycast and collider system works nicely, with the control panel appearing whenever an employee is clicked. The next step was to create a tool that allows the player to select an area of the world to chop down. I then got the new area selection tool to return a list of all the coordinates of trees in the selected area. Here you can see that outputting to the console. That list is then handed to the lumberjack, who goes on to chop down all of the trees that have been selected. When I made the selection indicators coloured, that's when the problem started. I discovered that for some reason only half of the indicators were clearing when the mouse was released, and it turned out that far too many of them were being created each time the tool refreshed. As you can see here, there are only 4 tiles selected, yet there are 8 indicators in the world. I fixed this by looping down from the end of the list, and at last that worked nicely. Green is shown when a tile contains a tree and red otherwise. I went away to Oxford in the middle of the week for the end of my girlfriend's university exams, which basically meant chucking confetti, flour, paint, whatever you can find at people when they come out of the exam hall. That's enough coding for now, it's time to look at cheat codes. I've wanted to add this feature for a while, and it's really a very simple developer console, which allows me to cheat so I can test the game a bit more easily. The cool part of this is that it can be used by players if they also want to cheat in the game, which was always a fun feature of games like this. Having drawn the bar, I then got it to take anything that's typed into it and output the text to the console, just to make sure it all registers properly. And finally, I added a few cheat codes for it to recognise. I've added a code which adds 50,000 amber to the player's bank, which you can see here. Another unlocks all of the buildings in the build menu so they don't have to be researched first. And another simply gives the player unlimited money for building anything or buying up all the land. If there are any more you'd like to see, let me know in the comments and I might just add it. The final task for the week was to make a little switch which attaches the control panels to toggle things. For example, opening and closing storage buildings or turning machines on and off. I started by making the switch container and the switch ball, which moves from side to side of the container. I made them pure white, as that means I can make them whatever colour I want in Unity with the sprite renderer. Once that was all imported and set up in Unity, I then made animations for the switch to go from side to side of the container when it's clicked. It also changes from green to red when switched off and vice versa. Here you can see that all working nicely. When clicked, the switch changes state and the value is also shown as text next to it so that it's clear what the switch is doing. In this case, the switch is turning a storage building on and off. That's all for this week. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and I shall see you next time. Cheers for watching.